Hey travelers, we are fresh back from an amazing Disney cruise, and while this is on my mind, I wanted to share with you some of the tips that can go into making a big difference in your trip, and I guarantee you have not heard all of these before. So we are going to dive right in and go pretty quick through the top 10 tips that I could come up with to help make your trip easier, better, more magical, and honestly just make the most of your time. The first couple of tips are going to deal with before you even get on the cruise and how you can make your life easier. So with these tips, I'm also going to tell you why you might just be able to ignore some of them anyway. I know that sounds contradictory, but see what I mean after the first few. All right, tip number 1. Book early. So Disney cruises are a slightly different breed of cruise, and whether you've been on a bunch of cruises or you're new or you need a refresher, whatever the case may be, Disney cruises have select itineraries. They will have some repeat cruises that are just multiple dates throughout the year. However, if you're going to be booking a cruise, you're going to want to look at the fact that most of the rest of the public is going to be booking a cruise at the same time as you, if that has to do with a school holiday, a break, spring break, summer break, Christmas break especially. You will see price increases on those of year, and you will also see busier cruises during those seasons. So we love to go cruising in off seasons and when there are not school breaks. But if you have to stick to a school break schedule, definitely think about planning it out a little ahead of time and not banking on a last minute deal or something like that, because especially if you want to take advantage of one of the special themed cruises that they have for Marvel or Halloween or Christmas time, you're going to want to be able to book that well in advance so that you can plan that out. There are also different things when you're reserving them on board that you can do ahead of time. So being booked and knowing what your schedule is going to look like will give you, 1, the best selection of staterooms available, 2, more time to pay off the cruise, 3, a better selection of cruises to choose from. That being said, you can absolutely grab a last minute deal on a Disney cruise and still have an amazing time. The cruise we just got back from, we booked 2 weeks before we went on the trip. There were a few things I would have done differently if we had had more planning time ahead of time, but we still had an amazing trip. And if you can't book a year plus in advance, don't stress. You can probably still find something that's going to work for you. Tip number 2 has to do with online check-in. Now you can check in online 30 days before your trip. Checking in online is one of those things where I would absolutely make sure that your partner is watching the kids or a babysitter or something, because it's not one of those ones you want to be interrupted during. You have to put in your passport information. So go ahead and make sure you have all of your passports collected before you go ahead and settle in to check in online. It does open up at midnight the 30th day before your trip. I don't personally think it's something that you need to stay up past midnight for if you're not already going to be awake. Some people will. The benefits to checking in early are that you get to pick your port arrival time, which is the window of time that you can arrive to the port, and the earlier times will get chosen earlier. Usually starting around like 11:30 is when people can start getting on the ship, and if a couple more hours on the ship is going to make a big difference to you, then you might want to check in early. Again, we booked 2 weeks before the trip and checked in 2 weeks before the trip, and we got a 1:30 port arrival time. We were on the ship by 2 o'clock. It was super simple, especially at Port Canaveral, to park and drop our luggage off and get on the ship. And having one of the later times meant there was 0 line. We walked on the ship. There was 0 line to get through security, 0 line to get onto the ship. We walked on, the buffet was still open. We went up to Cabanas and had lunch, dropped our stuff off. Our room was already ready, because if you don't know, typically on cruises, unless you have a certain tier of fare, you are going to be waiting until about 1 o'clock to get into your room. They're flipping the ship as quick as they can after the last cruise came in that morning, and the room attendants are usually still cleaning the rooms up until 1 o'clock. So we got on at 2 o'clock, 1:30, 2 o'clock, and the room was ready. We got to drop our backpacks off and then go up to lunch, and that was great. So are you starting to see what I'm saying about these tips are tips because they can be helpful, but if you cannot make them happen, it's not going to ruin your trip. Okay, tip number 3. Pack smart. I am a big fan of making a list for packing, and I think that it's just very helpful for me to be able to see what we're actually laying out and putting into suitcases and things like that. And if you want more information on how I, with ADHD, pack our family and make sure that I don't forget things, and also make sure that I don't go crazy the night before procrastinating, I'll link a video up here about what I do personally to make packing make sense and make it a little less stress for our family. But when you're packing for a Disney cruise, you are maybe going to run the gamut of outfits. You might have lots of bathing suits and comfortable clothes, all the way up to princess ball gowns if that's your thing. I will say, and this is a soapbox moment for me, do not stress about elegant night. If it is fun for you to dress up and you want to get some fun, great pictures of your family all dressed up, go for it. Pack whatever you want to wear to elegant night. I think they call it formal night on Disney cruises. But do not lose sleep, because people will show up in anything. My quick funny story is that I had a cruise lose my luggage one time and we didn't get it back for the first 3 days of the cruise. So I literally wore a bathing suit cover up to elegant night. Nobody's looking at you. People are minding their own business. They are having their own fun, and they are not worried about what you're wearing. So don't feel like you have to bring 10 pairs of shoes. Don't feel like you have to bring a 3-piece tux. You can if you want to. If that Cinderella ball gown for your daughter is going to make her day, absolutely do it. But don't feel like you have to if it's not something that is your jam. Don't feel like you need to bring the entire toy chest. Kids will play with anything, especially if you have like a tropical beach. If you're going to Castaway Cay or Lookout Cay, kids can play with anything in the sand. They can use a paper cup. They can use anything. You don't need to bring sand toys. We have made the mistake of bringing bags of sand toys, and they have gone unused while we played in the water and did other things. So you don't need to lose space on that kind of stuff. I'm not going to make this an entire packing video. I've got one of those if you want to check it out. But less is more, and yes, you can drop your suitcases off with the porters at the cruise terminal, so you don't need to drag every suitcase on with you. But in your carry-on bag that you're bringing, a backpack, a day bag, beach bag, whatever it is, go ahead and throw your bathing suits in there just in case you don't get your suitcases for a few hours. You'll have your bathing suits, you can put those on, enjoy the pools, enjoy the sail away party. You should probably put some sunscreen in that bag as well, and especially any essential medications that you're bringing on, your documentation, your port arrival form, passports, things like that you're going to want in that bag that you carry on with you. Tip number 4 is use the Navigator app. The Navigator app is Disney Cruise Line's cruise line app. You can download that ahead of time. It's really fun because there's actually a countdown on it, and it'll show you different Disney characters as it's counting down. But that is going to be key for you when you're online. It's going to give you all of the activities that there are to do, character meet and greets and where they will be, what dining venues are open and which ones are not, and where you'll be dining that night, because we'll talk more about it, but you'll have rotational dining with Disney Cruise, so you will have a different dining room each night. And the Navigator app will also allow you to favorite things. You can just click the heart next to it and it'll give you a notification 15 minutes beforehand that that activity that you favorited is going to be happening soon. You can also, and this is all without having purchased Wi-Fi, this is just using the ship's free Wi-Fi, you can also message different people in your party if you have multiple adults in your party. If you meet someone on the ship and your kid wants to meet up with another kid, you can add the parents onto it too, and you'll be able to communicate to each other across the ship. And it actually did work on both Lookout Cay and Castaway Cay as well. But if you get separated and you need to find somebody, the Messenger app works well for that as well. Tip number 5 has to do with dining. So if you are going to want to do any of the restaurants like Palo or Remy or something that is adults only, and you're gonna put the kids in Kids Club for that, you're going to want to make reservations for that ahead of time so you can plan things around what's going on. Nights that there are shows, there are usually 2 shows, one for early dining and one for the late dining seating, so you should be able to work around those and catch those. I would highly recommend getting main dining seating unless you are just a family that eats late at night. We had second seating, the late seating on this last cruise, and it was a challenge to make it through with our eyes open. It was at 8:15, so dinner would start at 8:15, and usually there's something going on during the dinner process, whether it's a show or a performance or just interacting with your waitstaff. Finishing dinner at like 9:30 at night was rough sometimes, so it's completely doable. If you end up with that, do not panic. You can also go to guest services as soon as you get on, and even beforehand on Disney Cruise Line's website. You can waitlist main seating, which is at 5:45, I want to say, but the last 2 times that we've had late dining and waitlisted early dining, we did not get it because everybody wants early dining. So that's just one more reason to, book early if you can, because then you'll be able to select main dining. Tip number 6, take advantage of the kids club. I wish I could go to the kids club. It is so cool. It is the most amazing magical playground that you have ever seen. There are so many different spaces for different types of interests. There are quiet areas for coloring, there are areas for science experiments and crafting, there are video games, tech stuff, driving ships, all different kinds of things, giant dance floors that light up, and the counselors that are there and love being with kids and are really engaging. So this is one of those things where I would talk to your kids about it beforehand. You can even show them videos like this. I have other videos on just touring through some kids club areas. They have open houses, so you can go with them the first day and a couple of times throughout the cruise if you want to check it out with them. This is something that I would talk to your kids about before the cruise. If it's something that you're wanting them to take advantage of and you're wanting to go to the Serenity areas that are adults only, or you're going to go to one of the restaurants that are adults only, or you just want to have some time without the kids to relax and decompress, Kids Club is one of the fantastic benefits of cruising, is that that's kind of built into the price, and Disney's Kids Clubs are so worth it and so amazing and magical that I can't imagine kids not wanting to go. But then again, I've had times where my daughter's just not in the mood to go. So set up your trip ahead of time by having those conversations. You can check out my video on having a family meeting beforehand to manage expectations and what everyone's expecting and hoping for from the trip and to get excited about it. And talk about how using that kids club is something that you can drop them off to and pick them up from. And if they have a problem or they want to be picked up earlier than you planned on, the staff there can contact you and find you on the ship and let you know that your kid wants to be picked up. But it's something where it's just such a cool area and such a cool space to be in, especially depending on the ship. If you're on the Wish, you can actually take a slide. The kids can take a curly Q slide into the kids club. You check them in on one floor and they slide down to kids club on the floor below. If you are on one of the ships that does character meet and greets, or the Star Wars cargo bay, or on the Fantasy that we just got off of, they did making Stitch's space goo, and Stitch came and helped make everyone make goo, and it was so cool. So definitely check those out. The space goo was actually during an open house, so I was able to be there for that and experience how cool some of the kids club stuff is. So definitely take advantage of that. It's a fantastic family trip, but there is no shame in wanting some alone time or some quiet time and just letting the kids have the time of their life at Kids Club. Tip number 7, character meet and greets. This is something that lines will form for. Usually you can get in line about 15 minutes beforehand. If there is a character you are dying to meet, I would say find it on the Navigator app and head there early, especially if you don't want to wait in line. The meet and greets will have a photographer that'll take the Disney pictures for you, but any character meet and greet has a character handler or friend there for the character that will do some interacting with the character and interpret what they're saying and gesturing and everything. And that character handler will take pictures with your phone if you want to. We actually did not pay for a single photo on this last Disney cruise. These are all photos that were taken with my iPhone. Sometimes I will use a preset, a Lightroom preset. My favorite presets that I have, especially for Disney, are in the description below from the happiest presets, and you can check those out and use Sweaty Mom 15 for 15% off if you want to use those. But they take them from looking just like iPhone pictures to professional pictures, and we didn't have to pay for a single photo this last cruise. But Disney does have packages if you want to get an all-inclusive, all photos taken package, because when you're doing some with the backdrops, those do not have an extra person there that can take pictures with your iPhone. Anyway, back to character meet and greets. Go ahead and favorite those on the Navigator app, but you will see the same characters multiple times and in multiple outfits. So for Pirate Night, they'll dress up in their pirate outfits, they'll be in their formal wear on formal night. It's really cute to see. And keep an eye out on the Navigator app as well for things like Mickey and Friends in the atrium, or a dance party with characters and those kinds of things, because something that Disney has started doing that I love so much is the characters are not in one set place with a line to take pictures with them. They actually come out into the crowd and they will dance with the kids. They will take pictures. They will maybe not autograph in these situations. That's something more for when you get in line to take pictures with characters, but they will have interactions with kids, and it is so fun to see. We saw everyone from Tiana to Mulan to the Fab Five to different princesses coming around and just dancing with the kids. It was so cute to see, taking pictures, taking selfies with people, being silly. I almost love that more than a posed picture. I love those, and you can get some great candid shots when that's happening, and video as well. Tip number 8 has to do with shore excursions. So if you are really wanting a specific shore excursion and you see it, go ahead and book it. If you decide you don't want to do that, then you can cancel that. And if you're in a Facebook for the cruise, you can let people know that you canceled it and that those spots have opened up. But those do sell out, so if you see something you want to do, go ahead and grab them. That being said, we do not tend to do excursions, especially on Lookout Key or Castaway Key. So those are just beautiful beach days for us where we enjoy what is available, and there's so much available, from going on the water activities that they have there in the water for kids to climb on. You can rent floats. Chairs and umbrellas are included for free, and you can typically find something. As far as chair and umbrella goes, Lookout Key, they were a little more scarce on the beach. Sometimes we would have to go back into the building structures to find somewhere to sit, but it's just one of those things where I think the beach is so amazing and beautiful that we don't need to do something else. But if you want to, you can rent floats, you can rent bikes, you can do an actual excursion on the island. I prefer just to use them as beach days. So just remember, on Lookout Key and Castaway Key, the beach is there, the chairs and umbrellas are there, and the lunch is included, so you don't even have to worry about paying for lunch, and you could technically just get off the ship and not spend a dime. There are also kids clubs on both islands. You've got Scuttles and you've got Sebastian's, so you've got places that you can send the kids to play. They usually have little splash pad area, and Lookout Key now has a family splash pad area that is amazing, as well as the Play Pavilion, where sometimes there's characters, sometimes there's games. It's a great place to just get out of the sun and play in the shade, but bottom line, there's plenty to do if you don't want to do an excursion in those two places and save an excursion for somewhere else that your ship is docking. Okay, tip number 9. I think I say this in every video. I don't know how we all survived before we all had reusable water bottles, but stay hydrated. This is a two-parter. So this has to do with staying hydrated and staying rested. Cruises are exciting. If you scroll through that Navigator app, there are like 5 things to do for every time slot that's going on. You're never going to be able to do everything. There's bingo, there's Jack's diaper dash, there's different singers, there's crafts, origami, there's things all around the ship. There's no way you're going to be able to do it all. So go through that Navigator app, see what's most important to you. Don't forget to hit the heart next to it so that you can go ahead and get the notifications that it's happening. If you've ever been on a Disney cruise, go ahead and drop in the comments what your favorite activity is that you've done, but don't feel like you have to be going 100 miles an hour the entire time and you're going to come home more exhausted than when you went on vacation. You can do something. You can do many things in a day and still let your kids take their nap at their nap time. Don't feel like you have to disrupt their entire routine just to get to something. Most of the activities will be repeated. There are some that are one night only, like the Pirates Night. The fireworks is something that we always make an effort to get to because it's one night only, but many of the activities will be repeated throughout the cruise. So don't feel like you can't rest. Don't feel like you can't go take a nap and enjoy your cabin or sit out on your balcony or go to the spa. Again, hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. Whether you are driving to the cruise or flying to the cruise, people don't realize how dehydrated you get the days leading up to a trip because, one, you might be drinking less so that you don't have to take as many pit stops on the way down. If you are flying down, planes are seriously dehydrating. Don't let yourself get dehydrated. It can make your motion sickness worse. It can make constipation an issue that you have to deal with for yourself or for your kids. And it's just something that it's easier to stay ahead of, especially on a Disney cruise. They've got so many drinks to choose from. That's one of the benefits of a Disney cruise is it's not just, the water, the lemonade that are included. You can get any drink you want from the stations up on the Lido deck, and there should be no problem. We bring refillable water bottles. We fill them up multiple times a day. Don't hesitate to grab some liquid IV or Pedialyte packs so that you can replace those electrolytes that you're losing. If you want more tips on how to stay cool in the Florida heat, you can go ahead and check out this video. But on a cruise, it's much of the same. You're probably going to be in a warm location unless you're doing one of the Alaska itineraries, and even there, you never know what the weather is going to be. So make sure you stay hydrated, and you will just feel a lot better, fewer headaches, less soreness, and it can even help if you've gotten sunburnt. Okay, number 10, last tip, and this is my most important one: embrace the magic. It's not just Kids Club that is magical. I cannot tell you how many times I got choked up or cried on our Disney cruise, and it wasn't our first Disney cruise, but when you get to walk onto the ship and they announce your family name, when you see your kid dancing with their favorite character, when you are watching the dinner shows and seeing the amazement in your kids' eyes, when they are so excited to tell you about what happened at Kids Club, there are so many fun things for you and for them built into a Disney cruise that when you get a chance, just slow down enough to appreciate those small magical moments that are bound to happen when you're doing anything Disney related. And don't forget that if something goes wrong and doesn't go to plan, or someone has a meltdown or is too tired to attend a certain activity, that is not going to ruin your trip. That's just a bump in the road. It happens. It's normal. Do not sweat it. If you packed that princess gown and then they won't put it on and wear it for formal night, sometimes just let things go. It'll be okay. You will have a fantastic time no matter what. And you have put a lot of time, effort, and money into planning this trip with your family. So make sure that you take some time to appreciate all the hard work that you've put into this, and appreciate yourself, and realize that you are the magic maker in your family and you are making these magical moments for them. All right, so thanks for joining me for this top 10 tips for a Disney cruise. If you have taken a Disney cruise and have another tip to add, go ahead and do so in the comments. And if you liked this video, if you can give it a thumbs up, that's awesome. If you want more traveling with kids content, we do a lot of Disney, but we also do other things as well. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and you will get notifications if you hit the bell when new videos go up. We've got room tours of the places we go, as well as vlog style videos and lots of traveling advice that we've gathered over the years. So go ahead and subscribe, and we will see you next time. Have a magical trip, everybody.